Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Investing Bros, where we go live every weekday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, covering everything you need to know about Bitcoin and crypto and stocks. We cover the TA, the news, everything in the macro so that you can be the best investor possible. And we've got a lot to talk about today. Over the weekend, Bitcoin climbed above $28,000. And yes, on Friday, we discussed the longer term. Could Bitcoin make it all the way to 50? But today, we're kind of shifting our eyes back down a little bit about the next stop. And that is, does Bitcoin make it to 30,000 potentially, maybe the end of today, maybe the end of this week? There is a lot of news that's supporting this, as we did over the weekend get confirmation that two of those banks that had problems over the last couple of weeks, Signature Bank and Credit Suisse, have both agreed to buyouts. And this is also kind of combining with the story that it is looking more likely day after day that the Fed will begin printing money again. This should be really bullish for Bitcoin, but we want to make sure we temper expectations. We look at the charts, we look at the news, and make sure you guys are not FOMOing in or flooding out, but you're taking really good spots to invest in your future. Make sure you do not go anywhere, because this is going to be a fantastic show. I am joined by two amazing co-hosts. I'm going to start with the man across the desk from me, and that is Mr. T. Shroom. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim. I'm doing really good. I was sick over the weekend. I'm back. I'm bouncing back here almost 100%. And I'm doing really well. Got to spend some time with my dad, who's probably in the chat, Steve E. Shrum. He's doing really well, wondering if he should sell and take profit on his Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're going to give some hints, some nudges, and potentially some evidence of why or why not he should not do that.
T-Shroom, I got a couple things here. First of all, I'm very sad. I can't see your face. Usually I can see your face. There's a massive camera and something else sitting between you and me. But I'm noticing by looking in your background, there is something missing. What's going on in your background?
It's a good question, Tim. Better than I deserve. Just kidding. There was a PC back there, and it is gone because we're going to sell it. So if you guys want to buy the PC that we were streaming off of, the genuine Investing Bros PC, it is it's just one Twitter message away. So just tweet me on Twitter. But actually, Army Piper bought Tim and I for our birthday and Christmas present an iMac that has a 1080p video, which is why you're seeing me in way more definition than you probably wanted to this morning. And so that's it. We switched to Mac, and so should you. Maybe. All right. We also got the quote of the day. So if you go to my screen, Piper, we've got a juicy quote here. A bank is a place that will lend you money if you can prove that you don't need it. And of all people, Bob Hope said that. So a really interesting quote there, as we're in the midst of a lot of very intelligent and hardworking people trying to figure out what to do with the future of the American and Western banking system as we watch it start to crumble into tiny little bits and potentially send Bitcoin and Ethereum to the moon. So that's our quote of the day, Tim. And what do you think of that? Do you think that do you think that's true?
It's very true. I mean, it's one of those things that if you have money, if you have a little bit of money, you can get a lot of money very easily. If you don't have any money, it's very hard to get up there. I understand when people are saying like, hey, but based off of where I started my life out, it's very hard to get ahead. But here's the thing. What other country allows people who do have nothing to actually gain something like America? I'm not saying that America is perfect. I'm not saying that everything about the way our system works. However, it's one of those things. I think Winston Churchill said, this is another quote of the day, that democracy is the worst form of government except for all others that have been tried.
Yep.
Meaning it's not perfect, and there's lots of flaws and there's lots of problems. It's just the best the world's ever seen. I would say the same thing with this. Like, is the American financial system and the way that it allows people to generate wealth perfect? Absolutely not. But it's the best the world's ever seen. We're also joined by Army Piper this morning. How are you doing, my friend?
Brother, I'm doing fantastic. I can't complain. I tried to get my DD-214 last Friday, though. You're talking about things that work governance-wide. I'll tell you what doesn't work. The Army protocol for paperwork and setup, because I have to go back today to get my DD-214. So
nice.
Incredible.
You know, in chat, we're about to read some names here in chat, but we're getting some Pushback against Mac. Gia S says, wow, great, but I will never be a Mac person. Crux of Crypto, one of our blue wrenches, says, say no to Mac. Elo Brown says, surprising as a Mac. Macs are not known for streaming, but the video card must be up to the challenge. Man, a lot of hatred towards Mac. At the moment, my laptop that I'm doing everything on, that's a Mac. We got T-Shroom with his new setup. He's a Mac. What about you, Piper? What's your setup like over there in Texas?
I have a Mac M1 Max Studio. So yeah.
Listen. Now, what I'll say, because I've always been a Mac guy. For my personal computing, just like emails and editing, Mac. For streaming, it seems like Mac is a better option. We'll see. But for gaming, especially through Steam, PC all the way. And I bought a very expensive computer this year just for that purpose. And I have a Mac and a PC, but I only use my PC for playing COD and for playing Age of Empires.
Age of Empires. Yeah. I have not played Age of Empires, I think, since I was 13. But that's not like it's not a diss. That game was awesome. I just stopped becoming a gamer. So interesting. Well, speaking of confliction in chat, first of all, we got 50 people watching with only 18 likes. Let's go ahead and smash that like button, everybody. Piper, you can go ahead and switch. Yeah, there you go, over to me. Well, let's read some names here, people in chat. And I did put a poll up here that is blocking. Who was the first person to comment, T-Shroom? I can't. The poll always blocks for me who the first comment's from.
The first person to
comment. It was Elo Brown is what I saw.
Elo Brown. Oh, shout out to Elo Brown.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it looks like Mr. B.
Oh, man, it's hard. Well, we're going to give credit to both of them. They're both early. The stream posting was a little bit later today, so it was probably hard for some people probably sitting around waiting for it, and they just did not quite get there. We're going to give a shout-out to both Mr. B and Elo Brown for being our first commenters of the day. Let's see who else is here. Curtis Rorick is here. Talking about $1 million Bitcoin coming soon. I don't know about that, Curtis, but that would be amazing. Mr. J is here as well. Justin Eubanks, Crypto Trades. Who else is here? Yair Navarro is here. Elliot Locke. Gia S, as we talked about. CBD Suddy is here. Joe Nickel. Al Bundles. Ninja Glock. Eric Wallen is here. Who else? Army Piper with the wrench. On the camera and in the chat. Nice. Doubling up today. Let's see who else is here. A lot of comments from the same people. I love how you guys just keep going back and forth and back and forth. Let's see a couple more names and then we'll move on. Mike Play is here. Good to see you here. Brian D. Wes M. We already shouted out. Crux of Crypto is here. And get a couple more. Max PP. And we'll go one more. Crimson Caravan Company. Thank you to everybody who is tuning in this morning. Like I said, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you are new, subscribe to the channel for more updates on crypto, stocks, Bitcoin, the TA, and the news. We got everything you need. And speaking of, we're going to go ahead and switch over to our TA. Before we do that, actually, though, Piper, they can look at my screen if they want to. We're going to look at a couple different things going on over here. I'm interested to know, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, but make sure you guys go vote in the poll. Have you had a friend or family member reach out to you this week about how to buy Bitcoin? At the moment, we're looking at 79% of people saying no, with 21% saying yes. But I know both Piper and myself have stories of that. So we'll talk a little bit later. What does that mean for Bitcoin? Not necessarily that that's the strongest indicator in the world, but we'll discuss what that could imply later on in the show. Go back over to my screen. Let's jump into the TA over here. First thing I noticed when I was looking this morning, I noticed this yesterday, obviously, but I wanted to point out the first thing. We did just get a flash here 2 days ago, a predictive reversal down, but notice that we did not reverse down. We had the flash, and then right now we had a green candle yesterday that took us up over 28,000. Right now we're kind of sitting with a green doji. I'm going to get out of the way. A little higher of it, we're on the higher end of it. Something to keep an eye on, but I wanted to kind of point out this really cool tool that Chart Prime has to offer, a predictive reversal down. And I wanted to kind of update you guys because in the same way, you shouldn't take any indicator and just have buy sell signals. That was something that was really big when they were building Chart Prime. They said, we are not going to be a buy and sell signal indicator because people get locked on that. They get fixated on it, and then they wonder why they're not getting good trades. They just want to be a signal indicator that gives you signs. And this was a prediction based off what was happening. There's a lot of momentum. If you pulled up oscillators, we're getting flashes on our oscillators of being overbought. So this signal just flashed saying, hey, it's a little high. Guess when this happens and it's a fake out though? Let's just kind of scroll back here and look. You guys will notice this beautiful bottom predictive reversal angle. This one was not. Why was this not a good call? Because we were still in a bullish trend. This one right here, great call because we were in a sideways trend. You're going to notice when you go back into the bear market, let's go ahead and take our oscillators down. You're going to notice, while this was a great call that ended up taking us into a little bit more of a rally, these other ones were not the best signals in the world because on the way down in a bear market, in a bear trend, these are not going to be the strongest signals. The strongest signals are actually going to be the ones that confirm that's moving to the downside. Same thing as we're moving to the upside. The fact that we missed this signal, some people are going to look at this and say, all right, Tim, we had a preferred reversal down that is not correct. That means that sharp prime is not a good signal, right? No, this is a great signal because what this confirms to me is the fact that we are in a bullish uptrend and that uptrend is not coming to a close. So again, this was not a sell signal. This was an indication of everything about the charts looks overbought, and yet the fact that we're still moving up simply confirms how bullish Bitcoin is right now. Great indicator. You guys definitely want to add that to your group. Let's look at some other things. We talked about 30,000 in the video today. In the title, in the thumbnail, you guys see 30,000. Some of the reasons why we are looking at that is an order block that we have posted all the way since back in June of 2022 that runs all the way up closer towards 32,000. We also have with our predictive ranges, our red predictive range up here at 29,500. Watch for another push up to fill this order block. That again, we discussed this on Friday. Order blocks traditionally, this is not just like retail investors. These are institutions. These are whales who have put in order blocks up here. Watch that get filled, and then potentially we see a dip coming. There is something on the weekly chart I was noticing though this morning to definitely keep your eye on. And we got a really nice fat dynamic reactor, but come on there. Our dynamic reactor is sitting right above us. And if we were to push through and touch the very top of it, we still see a $30,000 price. But it's going to be a very big deal that Bitcoin moves through, breaks, and turns this weekly dynamic reactor back into a green dynamic reactor if we want to see a $42,000 to $50,000 Bitcoin price like we very well could here in the future. So keep your eyes on that. As you notice on the weekly chart, we also have an order block all the way up here between the prices of 41, give it 42,000 or so, up towards 47. So another reason to potentially be looking at and saying, all right, this is very interesting. Now, this is a very bullish side. There's a lot of hope for Bitcoin. There's a lot of things that are pumping to the upside. I do, though, want to point out that this weekend we did another uh-oh. And what I mean by we did another uh-oh is we just created another gap on the CME futures. Let me take down my chart prime for just a second. As we talked about, we came back down after forming a gap back in January this year. We did come back down and fill this gap up nice and clean. We can go ahead and get rid of that. That gap is done. However, literally the candle after closing this gap, we started a new one. Some of you might be wondering, Tim, why is that yellow box starting at the bottom of the candle? Here's how you read CME futures gaps. And I know there's confusion on this. I know a lot of people have watched a lot of different analysts and had different opinions on this. The way you look at gaps is you look at where a candle closes versus where does the next one open up. Now you're gonna notice that mine goes to a wick up here because even though we technically opened this gap up here somewhere on this day back on the 13th of March, we wicked down filling this much of the gap, but there is still a very fat amount left here that goes all the way down to the bottom of 19,945. Now let's pause right there. You might be wondering, Tim, are you saying that we're dropping down to 19,945? No, I am not. Only 95% of gaps get filled. In fact, I've had this discussion with a lot of different people. I would imagine that when you're looking at gaps that happen towards the bottom of asset prices during their bear markets, I'm going to imagine it's way higher than 5% that don't get filled. Either way, though, I did want to make sure you're aware of this. There is a gap here all the way down to 19.5. And then this weekend, we just formed a new one. Now, we've closed a little bit of it. There we go, my rectangle. So we're going to start here at the opening or the closing. We don't care about that little wick. It went technically up to all the way up to about 28.1. But because of this wick, we now have a very small gap right here that comes back down to 27,000. That would make a lot of sense. 27,000, as we talked about before, was a very serious level of resistance that we have turned into support over the weekend. But it's looking like, according to the CME futures gap, they want to see it come down and be touched one more time. This will be very interesting. Will this fall into that 95% that gets filled? And will we see a retracement back down to 27,000 to fill that gap? Or will we see that gap, just like this bottom one, be left alone for a while? If I'm looking at nothing but the news, I'm more skeptical of this gap and this gap are getting filled, but anything is still possible. We'll make sure to cover that. While we're on the CME futures, another reason to be looking for some big moves to the upside is the gap that we created back here. Technically speaking, I don't have this gap here correctly either, because I don't know why I went down to the wick, so I didn't even listen to my own rule here. We have a gap above us that stretches all the way up to 35,985. Let's just go ahead and call it 36,000. While we're looking at these CB future gaps, let's keep an eye on all three of these. My guess, though, would be we're super close to this one. It would not be surprising to me to see us come down and fill this before a run up. Maybe we get some kind of shake in the news before the FOMC meeting this Wednesday. We get a little bit of shake up. People get a little bearish. We come back down, fill that gap, and then we get the money printers coming back on. We get Jerome Powell potentially saying, hey, we're actually going to go ahead and pause interest rates for now until we have a better grasp on these banks. And then we shoot up towards that 42,000, maybe even start making a push towards 50, filling this gap. Were there any other gaps that we had? Let me take a quick look up here. It does appear we have another gap all the way. Not that I think we're going to fill this one, but it does look like we have another gap all the way up here, starting at $53,000. This would go down to right there. Then we got to stretch it out here. We extend this across. We got another gap all the way up above 50,000. That's going to be a stretch, I think, for right now to get to. Even if we do touch 50, I think that coming up above that's going to be a little harder. Is it possible? Abso-freaking-lutely. Likely, I don't know. I feel very strongly about filling this gap and this gap. I think those are very doable. It's these two more extreme ones that I'm considering saying, ooh, that's going to be really hard to get to. Hopefully that's making a lot of sense to you guys. If not, let me know in chat and I can maybe explain that a little bit better. Let's head back over to Bitcoin, and I want to explore some more stuff here on a macro trend. On Friday, if you guys joined the show, we discussed the potential of Bitcoin making its way all the way up towards 50,000, and the idea for that in a pre-bull market rally would be coming up towards, is this the right one? Yes, I think. I'm on the log chart. Let me go back to the linear chart. Would be coming up and filling in this golden pocket that runs up to $50,000 in the same exact way that we did it back here in the bear market of 2019. And we had this little rally. We came back up to golden pocket and then fell another 50% before the real bull market started. We kind of explored the potential. Is that going to happen? But now I want to kind of look at this and look at it from a direction of saying, all right, what are the altcoins going to do? And I'm going to throw it to Piper here in just a second because I want to get his take on this as well. But it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard to realize, is this rally, when we start moving up here, is this going to be a copycat of what happened in late 2019, where it was a premature rally before a 50% drop and the bull market didn't come for almost another entire year? Or is this move similar to the move we had back here? Now, it's not as likely it's similar to this move. First of all, this move happened after the halving event. We still have a very long time, but there are some similarities. Like, for example, there was a lot of money printing that went on in this area, and this money printing led into a very explosive bull run. If we see money printers come back on, could that be what takes us into a full-out bull run? And the question is, what happens to the altcoins? Now, in this premature rally right here, I want to compare just Ethereum and Bitcoin. Bitcoin bottomed out here and then had a massive move to the upside. Let's take a look at what Bitcoin actually did. We'll go from this bottom right here. Bitcoin during this little premature rally rallied 315% before having another 50% drop back down to former resistance turning into support. What's the purpose of me saying this? Because a lot of times these rallies, you're going to see altcoins outpace Bitcoin massively, sometimes 2 to 3x. Well, during the same time, Ethereum had a little rally of its own, but I got to give me just a second. The screen went berserk on me. Where is our timeline over here? 2019, it's going to be right in, oh, got to go back. I'm going to have to move to log chart for this one, guys, because it is the only way I'll be able to see this one clearly. Here we go. Back here in 2019, in that same timeline that Bitcoin rallied 315%, we had Ethereum rally how much? 265. So this was an indication where Bitcoin actually outpaced Ethereum. Not that Ethereum didn't have a good little rally here, but it only had a 267% rally, whereas Bitcoin, as we just showed, if we're going to go back to it, gosh, why do you have to do me like this, Bitcoin? Is it the wrong chart? There we go. Well, Bitcoin in the same time had closer to 315. My point here is that if this is a premature rally, we will see Bitcoin continue to outpace the altcoins. The problem, however, is we are fresh into this explosiveness of a rally, and it's impossible at the moment to know if we're seeing this rally, meaning not a bull market, just a premature explosive rally, and then we're going to see a dip. Or are we looking at this rally where we have some explosiveness start? Let's go to the weekly chart so we can see these candles a little bit better. Bitcoin really started getting explosive back here in, let's go October. We'll go October of 2020. Yes, we had a little push up right here, but then we fell back down. The explosive rally really started in October of 2020. But if you looked at Ethereum, Ethereum's explosive rally really didn't start till closer to November. So we had to wait an entire month to see Ethereum catch up to the explosiveness that Bitcoin started. Same thing if we go over here to Cardano. Cardano really didn't get explosive until November either. Let's look at a couple others. I think Link, let's see what Link did. That's a really hard one to read because Link had a lot going on here. Link didn't really have the same kind of rally. Let's see what other coins had explosive rallies there in 2020, T-Shroom.
That's a good question.
Let's look at what Dogecoin. Dogecoin, I think, is a little different too. Dogecoin didn't get their explosiveness until December of 2020. Dogecoin had a really good bull run in 2020. My point here is that it's going to be a little minute. Give us a couple of months before we can really identify, based off of historical trends, based off of what we've seen in the past, is this just a premature bull rally that's going to run us up potentially between $42,000 to $50,000 and then have a massive pullback down to the levels we're currently at, like around 27, maybe even retouch 25.2, turning it into support? Is this just a premature rally, or is this the real deal? And could we, because of the bank crisis, because the Fed's turning money printers on, and who knows when they're going to be able to turn them off, could this be a premature rally into the next bull market? Here's what I'll say. Last thing I'll say, and then I want to get Army Piper's take on this. If this is the beginning of the real bull market, that's going to make some of you excited, but it also should make you a little upset, sad, because if we're just prematurely rallying because the Fed made another when the Fed stops making that and we move back from quantitative easing into quantitative tightening, just like this bull market, which, by the way, when you look at the technical analysis, I know a lot of people got it wrong. I know a lot of people calling for 100,000 were wrong about where the top of this bull market is. The reason why we did not reach our full potential in this bull market was not because it was just destined to end at 69,000. It was because a lot of explosiveness happened from Fed and money printing and government problems during the pandemic that led to a really explosive rally that ended prematurely. In the same way, if we're not rallying off of very, very strong fundamentals, but if it's more like people are not getting to Bitcoin because Bitcoin's solid, if people are just running to Bitcoin because they're uncertain of US dollars and the banking system, well, then those same people will flood back into US dollars when the banking system looks like it might have garnered more control again. When the Fed is in a good spot and they start going back into quantitative tightening, the same people that flooded into Bitcoin will flood out. It'll be premature, and that could stop us from reaching what I believe is a true potential. I think Bitcoin could range anywhere between $115,000 to $175,000, $185,000 by the end of this next bull market. Watch that potentially not come to fruition if the only reason this market starts is because of the Fed having to print more money. I want to throw it over to Piper. What are your thoughts about some of the things I just said there? What are you seeing on the charts? Maybe even moving into Ethereum. What are you seeing over there?
Thanks, Tim. So interestingly enough, I actually want to touch base on what you said real fast about the Bitcoin. I think that if people have put their money into Bitcoin now and they see this massive return on their money versus what they were getting from their bank, I think they might tend to, even no matter what happens with the banks getting fixed and so on and so forth in the months ahead, I think they're going to go, No, why was I not in here a long time ago and hold their money in crypto? So I do want to say that I there's that other side of that flip side of that coin, you know. So I wanted to point that out. But something interesting on Ethereum that I'm seeing. I'm looking at a 4-hour chart right here. ETH versus US dollar. We did have our rejection here on the lower gold trade band of our predictive ranges here, perfectly there. But more interestingly enough, for those that have seen it, and some of you may not have not, but I actually want to show you my fib here because you can see our rejection that we got on Ethereum right here with the 2 points of wicks coming in. Let's see, one of them was on Saturday and one on Sunday on the 786 right at the baseline of our platinum pocket that we talked about on the video that I put over on Chart Prime. So that is where we got the rejection at. You can see a couple of these wicks if I bring this in here. Literally we're on the line to the dollar. So right there, and then the candle closed right at it too. So right on the 786, I think we do have a trend line currently moving right now off of the Chart Prime oscillator, and I will show you that here. Currently running up right here, this white line. And I do think that we could get a bottom back here to grab this liquidity, which will give us a retest on this trend line and then bounce us back up. And we're kind of creating a wedge here. Now, what does bother me is that typically this wedge pattern of the horizontal top and the was, I guess, triangle, I should say, rising triangle. If we get the rejection off of the horizontal here, this is actually a bearish pattern, and we actually could come back, retest the 66 here on the golden pocket, which would almost be in line with our lower support range on the predicted ranges. So we did get a peak seeker that printed right in here off of the oscillator, but right now we are coming in on the 0 line, and normally when we get our to the 0 line, we've had bounces in this range before. When we're below it, sometimes you can see we get the rejection, but when we're back down, but when we are on top, we do tend to get bounces on here. So it is very possible that we might be coming in to get the bounce right there again too. So that's what I'm seeing there. MACD still looking red on the histogram right now. Not looking like we're getting any curvature on the MACD line across the signal line either. So a little concerned on what I'm seeing right now on Ethereum, but I think overall, you know, Ethereum does tend to go in these little off cycles right after Bitcoin, and it tends to go sideways. If you guys recall back in the last bull run, we had $1,900 Ethereum for a long time. And then when it started moving, it was $100 break a day that it was going up. So I'm not overly concerned with Ethereum not moving like Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin got first mover advantage. It's the most popular name in crypto for all the new people that are coming in. But yeah, going back on what you were asking about earlier though, Tim, you asked about the family thing. And yeah, I've had 2 people from my family in the past week that had no interest in crypto that actually asked about crypto. So I found that interesting. But and then Crux of Crypto had also posted a thing in here, and let me throw it up on the screen there. There you go. His dad called him about crypto this weekend. So, and at a bar this weekend, a bartender asked him about the banks. His grandma called him about banks. Like, people are starting to call the family members that know about crypto and talking to them about crypto. So that's what I found interesting there on that. So.
Yeah, I was reached out to by a friend who, to be fair, he'd been invested in Bitcoin before, but he went cold. He was one of the ones when Bitcoin started getting kind of depressing. If if there's a better way to put it, I don't know. He kind of went cold, but he reached out to me this week saying, "Dude, what do you think about this Bitcoin pump? Do you think that we're going down again, or do you think this is the beginning of something special?" So I'm noticing in our chat that poll, 85% are saying no. So that is a good sign. The reason why I asked that, and the reason I wanted to bring this up, and we'll jump back into some charts here in just a second because there's another thing I wanted to show you, is because, as some of you will know who have been around here for long enough, when the masses come back into crypto, when people do start reaching out and saying, like when you do start getting text messages and emails and phone calls from people asking you, how do I buy some Bitcoin? How do I get in? That's traditionally a sign we are nearing a top, and that it is time to keel over and go to the downside. But we're in a very unprecedented moment right now where a lot of these people are not doing it because of Bitcoin's just outlandish success, because Bitcoin is still relatively closer to its way closer to its bottom than it is to its top. The reason people are doing this is because of the fear of the banks. But like I just said here a couple minutes ago, if people flood into Bitcoin because of their fear of the banks, I'm really hoping that while they're here, they learn a lot more about how economy flows and how money flows so that they stay. Because my concern is as soon as they see any type of bearish movement in Bitcoin and there looks like there's a form of confidence in the banking system, they're just going to turn their tail and go right back into the dungeon that they came from. So I want to see people actually run into Bitcoin for a fundamental reason. Going back over the charts, though, really quickly, I want to show on Ethereum something that's very important. I think levels are that Piper was showing are very important too. But notice we've been talking about this rising wedge pattern that Ethereum was in and then it fell out of. I'm not going to use this as a predictive tool. I think the pattern itself is kind of played out. However, I still love to look at resistance and support lines that remain relevant. And at the moment, Ethereum is continuing to heavily respect this rising level of resistance. That's something definitely to keep an eye on. Going back to the point I made earlier, here's the other thing. And we're talking about, we'll cover this a lot more in other shows as well. But it's going to be very interesting to watch. Is this a pre-bull market rally or is this an actual rally? Let's go back over here. This is the Bitcoin dominance chart. Anyone who wants to look at this up, just type into your ticker symbol BTC.D. You'll get the Bitcoin dominance chart. Notice these dates here, April of 19 and the peak of this September of 19. This was that entire time that Bitcoin, let me go back over here, that Bitcoin was moving in a fake rally. Come on, Bitcoin chart, go for me. Let's go to the weekly chart. Go back over here. That's the timeline right here. April's down here, March, April, all the way up here. Bitcoin gained heavily in dominance during this period. Let's move forward into the actual bull market, though. Let's fast forward those dates. The bull market kind of, we got our pandemic dip, but then the explosiveness started here in September, went all the way up into April of 2021. However, over here, you're going to notice this dip. We started gaining dominance on Bitcoin in October of 2020. Remember, that's when I said Bitcoin's explosiveness started. But by December, the dominance just started to plummet, despite the fact that you're noticing while Bitcoin dominance is massive red candles right here, the rally is still going really high. This is the difference. This is the question. Are we seeing a dominance rally because this is a premature rally, or are we seeing the dominance rally and we're about to see altcoins flip and this is the real bull market? Keep your eyes on this chart. This will be very important, tall tale sign of what this actually is. Speaking of it, Bitcoin's still rallying up here at 47% right now. It does look like Bitcoin is well on its way back towards 50, but we'll talk about that more in future shows. That's all the TA we have for you guys today. I do want to tease to you guys, though. A lot of people have been asking about, hey, when can we cover more altcoins? When can we dive into more trading theories and stuff like that? Because we only have an hour-long show, it is very hard, and it's something we pride ourselves on. We are not only a very clean show, we're very uplifting in our community, but we like to cover a lot of things. We cover Bitcoin, we cover stocks, we cover crypto, we cover the news, we cover TA. That's a lot of information to fit into only 1 hour, to then only throw on top of that a lot of altcoin TA, a lot of trading tips, a lot of trading entries and exits. Here is the thing that we have been talking about now for a little bit, and we're very excited to announce that starting in April, I believe it's going to be April 3rd or 4th, whichever that first Monday of April is, we're going to be extending Investing Bros Show by a half hour into 10:30 Eastern time. And what that means is right now, the current show will continue to be the way it is. We'll have our introduction. We'll do some macro TA on Bitcoin and other altcoins that have significant movements on the macro scale. We'll do the stock market. We'll cover the news. But that extra half hour will be used to engage with you guys, to answer more questions, to tell more stories, to look at altcoin TA and trade setups so that you guys that are in our YouTube community can experience the fullness of everything that we have to offer. And guess what? A lot of that stuff, by the way, happens over in our Discord. So if you guys want to go join our Discord right now, link down below. You're going to want to get it. However, we're going to do that for our YouTube community as well. So mark your calendar. Monday. What is the first Monday in April, T-Shrimp? Do you know what that date is?
I don't.
I think it's the 3rd.
Crux just said wrong. April 3rd in the chat.
April 3rd. That's my brother's birthday. On April 3rd, mark your calendar because we will be running from 9 to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. We are extremely excited. Let me know in chat. Comment in chat if you guys are excited about a 90-minute Investing Bros show. With that said, though, it's 9:34. Go ahead and smash those like buttons. We got a lot of people watching with not as many likes, so smash those like buttons. And T-Shroom, why don't you take us away into our market open for today?
All right, let's do it. Well, if you'll go over to my screen, you will see energy is starting out getting bought here. U.S. oil up 0.6%.
We're looking at Credit Suisse.
Okay.
Article.
Oh, okay. Yeah, give me just a second here. We've got a new system. All right. Thank you, Tim, for pointing that out. Now, can you see Safari now?
You need some water?
No, I'm good. I don't
We
know.
don't see anything at the moment. Black screen.
Oh, awesome. Let's do it like this way. All right. And that's not going to work either. New computers, guys.
New
computers.
Systems.
I think it may be because it's on Safari, in which case that is not going to work. So that sucks. Give me just a second to pull it up on Chrome. So
Okay, so we keep on. Let's take a look. Go back over to my screen here, Piper. Let's take a look while he's doing some of that stuff. First of all, I'm going to look at a couple different things that I look at when I'm looking at stock market. Dixie, first of all, dropping down to 102. Remember, one of the things we are looking for on this is a potential touch. Let's go off the log chart, actually. A potential touch here at the 50 on the Fibonacci down at 102, and then even lower, a touch of this golden pocket at $98. Also in a channel that we have been in now on the Dixie, potentially could we retouch this descending level of support in that golden pocket? Definitely something you want to keep your eyes on. This morning so far, and then I'm going to throw it back to T-Shroom because I think he's saying that he's good to go. S&P 500 still using this support level of former resistance. Dow Jones, same exact thing. Love seeing us use that former resistance as support. And then we got the NASDAQ, who hasn't even gotten close. So we're seeing some, as you guys can see, daily. Oh, it's out on the weekly chart. Let's look at the daily chart. Daily chart, we got a red candle for the NASDAQ. We're starting green this morning on Dow Jones and the S&P 500. So good signs so far. I'm going to throw it back over to T-Shroom, though, to cover out the rest of the market.
All right. Okay, so taking a look here. Can you see my screen now? Yeah, excellent. All right, so taking a look here at energy. You can see that oil is getting bought up.
You sure you don't need some water, man? Sometimes when you don't talk for a while, your throat like locks up.
No, I'm just sick as a dog over here. Yeah, so oil's getting bought up 0.5% here. Natural gas is selling off here in the morning. So not a lot to see here. Energy markets are not going to be the talk of the town, but there's something to keep an eye on, because if they start to get bought up, then they could potentially sneak the CPI prints right back up. So here we are looking at U.S. oil. And as you can see, it's coming in. It's put in a new low, but it has tried to push back up to get back up above that $66 per barrel. You heard me right. It's trying to get back up above $66 per barrel and failing to do so. Coming back down now, wicking as low as 66.36. So moving away from energy, we'll take a look here at the indexes. Tim went into them here for just a moment, but as you can see, the three here, S&P is up 0.1. The NASDAQ is down 0.5, and the Dow Jones is up 0.5. So you're seeing, thank you, Tim, bringing me a little bit of water here. I appreciate it. So the Dow Jones leading the way. So that's money rotating into security, relatively more secure equities in the Dow Jones on average versus the NASDAQ and the S&P, and the NASDAQ getting sold. So this kind of makes sense. Now, this may be the reflection of one single tech company in the NASDAQ getting sold off pretty heavily. That is not also in or is not as heavily weighted in the Dow Jones and S&P. So we'll go down and we'll probably see what that's referring to here in just a moment. Red across the screen on crypto, as it looks like it's selling off here in the morning, but not by too much. Link and XLM, Stellar Lumens are remaining green here, with Link up 3%. So doing pretty well. Now, Bitcoin is down 0.4%. So pretty much holding on to that 27.9 level, trying to stay above 28,000. All right, let's keep moving here. Metals are an interesting one to watch for sure. Looks like silver is getting bought and gold is getting sold. So that's just here in the first 9 minutes of the New York session, but you are seeing metals pretty much staying where they were. Let's take a look here at silver really quickly. Not going to spend too much time on this, but yeah, it double topped there and is making a move lower and has wicked lower than this bottom here on the 1 hour chart. So this is going to be, probably a reversion back down to here to this major line of support on the 1 hour down to 22 even. Looking at it on the daily chart, let's do that really quickly. Man, it has had quite a recovery since it fell down below several lines of support, and now it is trying to push higher up to 23, and it just might do it, contingent upon what is going to happen with this banking narrative throughout the rest of the week. And pretty much a similar thing here on gold. It's had a very big surge, hasn't gotten back up to its major highs here at 2,070 per troy ounce, but it did wick up to 20,006. So it's making progress here, but it looks like it's kind of slowing down. Although the MACD histograms are still continuing to be acceleratory. So that's pretty good if you are a bull on gold here. So moving out of the metals, although this is a very important asset class to watch, the precious metals are going to be indicative of whether or not retail and institutional investment are seeking shelter in alternative investments such as gold and crypto. And in this morning, it's pretty mixed. All right, moving into our big cap, mega cap tech stocks here, you can see Microsoft is getting sold. Amazon's getting sold pretty heavily here, down 1.6. Pretty much for both of them. Apple barely staying green, and as well as Meta barely staying green, up 0.8%. So Meta leading the way there for your mega cap tech stocks. Bonds mixed. The 2-year yield is up 0.1, and then the 5-year mysteriously is down. The yield is down 0.2. It just moved from 0.3. So cannabis down. And let's see, your micro cap also going to be mixed, with Coinbase getting bought this morning. So interesting stuff here, guys. And mostly round out. The only other sections I want to cover here are the big banks. JP Morgan up 1%. So the big banks getting bought here. I know that First Republic is not getting bought. I think I saw that it was down another 20% or something like that in pre-market. So might actually want to go check on that here in just a second. But your oil producers are up, with Schellenberger up 1.4%. All right. Yeah. So that's going to be, let's see if we can pull up First Republic here. All right. First Republic Bank. Let's take a look. Yeah. So they've had a big tank ski here recently for obvious reasons. If you've been paying attention, the regional banks are suffering a pretty big collapse. At least some of them have been. Yeah. So as you can see there on the charts, actually First Republic Bank, down. It's green for some reason, but it's on the day it is down 8%. So not looking good there for First Republic Bank. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of the stories here. That was our market open, kind of show you guys kind of what's going on in the markets. Where's money flowing? Where's money leaving? And now let's get into some of the stories here. We'll start with traditional finance story, which is really kind of rocking the nation here. But it's starting over in Switzerland. UBS completes Credit Suisse deal for $3.2 billion following an offer from Justin Sun, who, if you don't know, he is the ambassador and preeminent representative of WTO, apparently. And he's also the founder of Tron. I'm getting that information from this little side detail here. Interesting. All right. Well, let's get into some of the details of this article here. Associated Press suggests that the deal is worth $3.2 billion. The current report also suggests that the Swiss National Bank will provide $162 billion of liquidity to UBS Group, up from $54 billion as previously announced. But don't call it a bailout, guys. This is just what they have to do, and it's not a bailout. Don't call it that. I would like to propose my offer of $1.5 billion, says Justin Sun, to acquire Credit Suisse and integrate it into Web3 world. Switzerland has been one of the most crypto-friendly countries in the world, he goes on to say. These remarks following his offer to purchase. But my guess is that he probably never intended to actually purchase, but this is more just way to kind of bring a little bit of attention to crypto and for Justin Sun to get a little bit of recognition as well. Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, scroll back on that article real quick, and I'm going to tell you where to pause. Keep going right there. Pause right there.
Okay.
All right. So nope. Okay. So I guess we're a little delayed. Keep going up. Go back up to the first blue highlight.
There you go.
All right. Above that blue highlight, the paragraph, the value of the deal increased over the day. UBS Group initially offered to buy Credit Suisse for just $1 billion. Why is that significant? Because didn't you just say that Justin Sun offered 1.5?
Yeah, more than that.
When a crypto person comes in and says, I will buy the bank for 1.5, and again, maybe he was not making a serious offer. However, UBS, the people that ended up purchasing it, offered $1 billion. Justin Sun says, I'll do 1.5, and I want to integrate it into Web3. And now all of a sudden the deal more than triples up to $3.2 billion.
Yeah. To
me, that is a very clear sign of we do not want crypto to come in and be. This is the narrative that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And you can go to my screen real quick for this, Piper. I know the narrative right now, not my screen, sorry, my face. You can keep going there. The narrative right now is the crypto is the bad guy. The banks are the good guys. Do not put your money in crypto. Put your money in US dollars and in euros and in every other fiat currency. But oh no, our banks are struggling and you realize that's not safe either. Well, now people are starting to wonder, where should I go? And they are looking at things more like crypto. And so this right here is a sign to me that even the banks themselves understand, while they wanted to offer $1 billion, they understand if we allow crypto industry to get in here and start purchasing some of these banks, not only will it make us look bad, it will take power away from us. You know what? Go ahead and raise the offer to $3.2 billion because we cannot allow crypto and Web3 to actually come in here and fix this, because that would kill the narrative that gives us power right now, because they know that they don't have power. They know that they're playing with fake monopoly money. Yes, that's what it is. It's fake monopoly money. The only reason why it's worth a stinking penny is because a lot of rich people around the world say it is. But as they are starting to get exposed, and as this currency that is backed by governments and people rather than anything actually valuable is getting exposed, they're going to start losing their power, and they cannot allow crypto to swoop in and be the hero. I expect there to be more banks in the future that crypto actually does end up solving. They can't solve them all. They can't fix them all, especially when they have to triple their offerings just to keep crypto away. But that is what, when I read this article this morning, that was my takeaway. How weird that they triple their offer after a crypto person comes in and makes an offer.
Yeah, no, you're completely right, Tim. And I would even go further to say that shareholders in Credit Suisse actually could have a potential lawsuit on their hands, meaning they could potentially sue the parties here that are involved. Now, you'd be suing the Swiss National Bank, right, and potentially UBS, but you'd be, I mean, it's complicated. That would be very, very difficult to arbitrate that case. But if there's a bigger offer, right, of 1.5 from a legitimate party, it would need to prove that it has that money. But the fact that they went, I mean, we just learned about all this with the Twitter deal and Elon Musk, right? Is like Elon Musk came in with this amount of money that was more than the market cap of Twitter, and the board pretty much was forced to, because of the way their bylaws are written, they were forced to go ahead and sell, and because it was in the best interest of the shareholder. So I don't know how they're going to get away with this. I mean, it gets into a lot of complicated stuff that I don't want to pretend like I know international banking law and things like that. But I mean, I know that 1.5 is more than 1 billion. Mm-hmm. So, there's definitely some questions to be asked. And I would not be surprised if there was some sort of equivalency of a class action as the shareholders toward Credit Suisse, I guess, their board, or maybe the Swiss National Bank board. So we'll see. I highly doubt that that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised. All right, moving along. Let's get into a really interesting story here. Microsoft not slowing down in its ability to surprise and shock the world. Here, Microsoft is doing something new. Microsoft working on new Ethereum wallet amid foray into crypto and NFTs, says a report. So let's get into some of the details here. Newest in the gauntlet of questionable upcoming Microsoft Edge features is a crypto wallet. Not really sure how to feel about this kind of thing being baked into the default browser. The onboarding pages indicate that Microsoft is rolling out a non-custodial crypto wallet that gives users exclusive control of their assets and private keys. This is a non-custodial wallet, meaning you are in complete control of your funds. We will have no access to your password and recovery key. It is embedded in Edge, making it easy to use without installing any extension. Well, that's really interesting. The implications not only for crypto, I mean, seem like that would be pretty positive. Seem like that would be pretty bullish.
Do you believe them?
Do I believe them?
Do you believe them that they will not have access?
That's a good question. I haven't really considered that because I'm thinking more of the implications on MetaMask, right? On kind of the leader in this industry, in terms of like Chrome, in terms of browser based wallets. Now, I'm pretty sure that Opera has a wallet. Does Brave have a wallet?
I think Brave has
Brave has its own wallet. Do I trust Microsoft?
Yeah, that's the question.
With my crypto, I mean, I think I would, but I would understand if others don't. I would understand if other folks are like, hey, maybe Microsoft isn't the best, corporation to be holding my crypto or claiming that they have a non-custodial wallet. I would like to read the terms of service. I would like to read the terms of agreement for this wallet, because that's what it ultimately comes down to. I mean, Microsoft has a lot of power, but they can't, overcome the power of the law. So if in their own terms and agreements, they say that they're non-custodial, they do have to keep that going. So
them doing this is going to be a good thing for them, because millions of people will end up using the Microsoft wallet. So it's a good move for Microsoft. But I'm asking everyone here, you can kind of answer in the chat, despite the fact that an article quoting one of their executives saying we do not have access, do you believe that to be true? Do you believe that Microsoft has your best intentions and will allow you to actually stay decentralized? I just have watched some of the partnerships and relationships that Microsoft has built. I know some of the way they view things. Ever since we had the whole shabak with our friends up in the north in Canada, where the government just all about came out and said, we want to have access to all of your guys' private wallets. So we have the right to censor anybody we want. We have the right to shut down people's monetary system however we want. And they pressured a lot of exchanges to release that information. I just do not know if a company that has expressed the way they have interest, like Microsoft, when they say the words, well, we won't look at it. I'm like, I feel like you're the type of company that's going to find some sort of a loophole and work with, again, if a government organization wanted to go after somebody, would there be some sort of BS backdoor deal where it's like, I know we said we can access your wallet, but the government told us that you're in trouble, so we're going to go ahead and pause and freeze this wallet and not let you access your funds. I don't think I'm going to be anyone who believes Microsoft when they say that things. What
do
about
you think, Piper?
I want to point out, after 21 and a half years being in the Army, in the Intel field, the number one customer of Microsoft, the United States federal government. So
yeah. And that kind of leads to, and I know that you're making an argument here, Tim, for the contrary, but I think Microsoft, I mean, it's not like they're morally better than other people, but they do have a decent track record of not screwing over their clients and their customers. I think, and that's why a lot of people like to work with them at the enterprise and the defense level. So, I mean, I would take the opposite side. I would trust Microsoft more than I would trust Binance.
I don't think that when it comes to censoring, especially if the government has deemed the person a threat, I don't think that the Microsoft would see that as violating their customers. They would see it as their ability to protect the customers by blocking and freezing a certain wallet. The whole point is that that's not their obligation to do. If you sign up for it, yes, you sign up for whatever you sign. What I'm saying is Tim Warren does not trust Microsoft to be a party that doesn't touch my money. I don't want my money in a place where I feel like Microsoft could get their hands on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I know that we're running a little bit short on time here, so I'll read the headlines for the rest of these stories. But the next one is here, which is pretty cool. El Salvador's Bitcoin president receives 91% approval rating. Nayib Bukele, who is pictured here, look at him there, throwing up the piece. Besides significant investment in crypto, Bukele has said that Bitcoin has rebranded El Salvador's national image and helped with tourism. So, 91%, that's pretty impressive. As great as this is, I do kind of question, their methods of procuring this percentage, but I'll leave it there. I mean, I don't want to sound like a Scrooge with this, but 91% is a little high. And I don't, if I'm the El Salvador people, not fully understanding Bitcoin and its volatility, I might not have the best impression of this change. But I'm going to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt, even though there are those hesitations to believe this rating. That's great. That's awesome. 91%. And that's being reported by cryptoslate.com. All right, moving along here. Got Bitcoin ? Argentina's inflation rate is now over 100%. Let that sink in, guys. That's insane. We think we have it bad here in the U.S. And that's another conversation. All right, so Bitcoin has appreciated against the Argentine peso by 20% over the past year, despite posting a 30% drop against the US dollar over the same period. This is how it all works, guys. It's not just linear. A lot more currencies out there. Government data released on Tuesday showed a consumer price index increase of 6.6 across the month alone, alongside a 13.1 year-to-date rise. Again, this is not for the U.S. This is for Argentina, for folks that might just be tuning in or unsure. So we think we have it bad over here in the United States. Well, Argentina definitely has a much bigger uphill climb to try and solve their fiscal woes and their monetary woes. And so a lot more people are going ahead and turning to Bitcoin. There's a lot bigger of an adoption rate of Argentina, but it's not just Argentina. It's also Venezuela is taking some steps towards crypto. Venezuela overhauls national crypto department. So let's check these details out. Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, a very controversial figure indeed, announced the reorganization of the National Superintendency of Crypto Assets in a decree issued on March 17th. The board will plan the next steps for the crypto department. Maduro's administration claims the move is intended to protect the country's citizens from the negative effects of economic sanctions, among other reasons. So, taking some pretty interesting steps there is Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro. You have to assume that this could potentially open the doors for some more freedoms for the Venezuelan people, but I don't put it past Nicolas Maduro to just use this as a way to do things that aren't necessarily in the interest of the people. But there you have it. Venezuela moving towards positive. Man, I'm being really negative against these bullish stories this morning. I don't know why. Maybe it has to do with me being sick. But one more thing I wanted to point out before we kind of wrap up the show is the credit and liquidity programs in the balance sheet of the Fed, the Federal Reserve of the United States. This is the total assets of the Federal Reserve. You can see here back in 2008. It's very low compared to where we are now. And I'll go ahead and zoom in because this is the important part. This is the quantitative easing that the Federal Reserve was able to do since April 13th of this year, of last year. So 2022. So since then, all of the carnage, all of the Fed, all the rate hikes, and all of the removal of assets from their balance sheet was reversed this week or last week with quantitative easing. So this was all quantitative tightening all the way down, and almost half of all of that progress was reversed when they had to do what they did for the regional banking crisis that's going on here in the United States. So I just want to leave you guys with that. This is very important to watch. This is one of the other big tools that the Fed has at their disposal. Only a handful of tools, guys. They've got the interest rates and they've got this balance sheet, which obviously you can see they've abused greatly for the last decade, right? And it looks like they're putting their hands back in the cookie jar to try to solve the problems again. A lot of analysts saying that Silicon Valley Bank should have just gone bankrupt and all of their debtors should have just gone down for trusting in FDIC shouldn't have backed it, and the Federal Reserve shouldn't have come in and helped bail out. So that's an opinion I don't necessarily agree with, but that's a little bit over my pay grade, a little bit over my head. But ultimately, what it comes down to, the brass taxes, is that we're halfway back where we started from the top of the Fed's overinflated balance sheet, and we're not learning our lesson. So
good job.
That's going to be our stories there.
Yeah. I actually have one more I want to show you guys real fast. This just dropped. This is hot news. Binance and BitMEX are looking to list Arbitrum. For those that don't know, Arbitrum 1, super cheap way to move your Ethereum, right, guys? I don't know if anyone's tried it, anyone's done it. I've used it many, many times. It's much cheaper to move it on Arbitrum 1 than it is on the Ethereum network. This will be dropping on Binance and BitMEX after the March 23rd airdrop of Arbitrum 1. So this release of this token, it's going to make it basically the biggest layer 2 on Ethereum, including Matic. So even bigger than Matic. Pretty bullish. I'm looking to grab some of this Arbitrum 1 up. So if you've tried to move any Ethereum, that was actually sent to us by Crux over here in the behind the scenes chat. So I appreciate him getting that over to us. But yeah, super bullish on Arbitrum 1. I've been waiting for a release where I could grab it, and now I know where that is at. It is right there, going to be on Binance and BitMEX. So
very nice.
Listing news. Nice.
Well, that is all we have for you guys today. Make sure, though, you go ahead and smash that like button on your way out. We still have probably a couple people watching that have not hit that like button. And subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We got a long way to go here with Investing Bros, and we are just getting started. Thank you to every single one of you who joined us this morning. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. With that said, you guys have a great day.